Koholo Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles of GMS who teach and rule well. Salutations to you brothers in the house and byways. Salutations also goes out to you brothers and few sisters that tune in to listen and learn. I'm the brother Malak from the Diligent Soldier Camp here in Boston, Mass. As always, I pray this lesson be edifying to the elect. The name of this one is Children of the Light versus the Children of the Night. Children of the light versus the children of the night, right? And indeed, I'm speaking on, the 1/3 elect-minded Israelites versus the 2/3 minded Israelites, okay? And what inspired this lesson, actually, man, through the spirit of Yahweh, Bahashim Yahweh Shai, was a conversation we were having with the elders, our camp, the Diligent Soldiers, the Rhode Island camp, and the GMS Boston camp, right? We link up every Wednesday night, do some Bible studies. The elders speak and exhort us, and a lot of great, inspiring conversations come out of those Zoom lessons that we have, right? Because everything is a lesson. When you look at this and consider this walk of ours, it truly indeed is an example, right? A spiritual examples come out of them, and we can't be but grateful for that through the spirit of Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai, and to stick to the topic, what inspired this lesson was what we were talking about, collectively, and I'm sitting back and listening, and I will put my spiritual 2 cents in and read a scripture too. But collectively, man, the Bible truly is a living book, right? And the reason I say that is because every example, every scripture that you read, man, if it be the Lord's will, you will see examples. He will put examples right in front of you, and we must truly be in the house of David, just because of how collectively these other camps will criticize, right? Will talk down upon, will lie, call us out of our names, starting with the apostles on down, of GMS and like-minded camps, who through the spirit are also a part of Great Millstone, man, where the truth is at, and that's the thing about it, right? The truth is somewhere, right? We believe that it comes and stems out of Great Millstone, that the Lord Yahweh Shai has set up these men, starting with with Apostle Tahar, set up these men to be the true leaders of the hopeful elect, of the elect, man, and scriptures prove who's who, right? And I'm not gonna make this too long, but the scriptures, if the Spirit is working with you, you'll see that the Lord is dealing with Great Millstone, man, and He isn't dealing with no other camp, man. As far as like these old One West camps, man, or camps that stemmed out of there, man, when you consider the things that are coming out about these camps, the exposure that Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai is doing up on these so-called leaders, from the leader of Sakari and the things that are coming out about him, to IUIC and the double-mindedness that they have going over there, switching up the doctrine always when it suits them. The things that are coming out about ISUPK and their leader, dealing with PDF file type of accusations, and the list goes on and on, man. There's other camps that through the years and as of recent time, have been exposed, man, for the things they're saying and doing, and collectively all these men, want to point the finger at Great Millstone, man, and instead of taking accountability for what they've done and repenting and moving forward, they blame the men of the Lord, man. And though it frustrates you a little bit, man, at the end of the day, it's what the scriptures say, But one thing I will say, and it's it should be evident to everyone, is the fact that Great Millstone stays in their lane, and their lane is to rebuke, first and foremost to prophesy, right? We're in the spirit of prophecy, which is Yahweh Shai is the spirit of prophecy. He's the biggest prophecy to happen, with his second coming and the redeeming of his people, right? So before that, you have all these other prophecies, man, which is basically, the men of the Lord being reviled, man, right? Criticized, man, and I'll get that. But it's like, it's evident, man, that where the truth is, where who the men of the Lord are, because everybody else is just making up these accusations, these false reports, about the men of the Lord, man. And if the Spirit is working with you, as I said, you'll see that clearly, because it's as clear as day to us. As we were talking, I'm listening to these men, and I'm like, man, these, the truth has to be in Great Millstone. I believe it before I thought of it, but it's like, it was like further like confirmation through the Spirit, man. That this is where the truth is, because nobody else is catching the type of heat that the men of the Lord, starting with the apostle of GMS on down, are catching. These other men are not catching this. These men are, have 501c3 contracts with Babylon, with Esau. They're selling everything under the sun. Anything that's not nailed down is for sale. They say things that are not scriptural, just to control their congregation, and at the same time make up more lies, because you have to always reinforce like I would say, like the main lies, right? Once you start speaking on something or someone or a group of people, you have to lie some more to reinforce that lie, man. And overall, they hate the fact that, starting with the apostles of Great Millstone again, man, rebuke these men for when they go off, right? And now this is the book of Amos 5:10. It says, they hate him that rebuketh in the gate, and they abhor him that speaketh uprightly. Now, we speak uprightly, man, right? When we speaking on the prophecies to come, the MO to the TB, right? And what that entails, Jacob's trouble, and what that entails. These other camps beat around the bush, will lie, will switch up doctrine. 1 minute they're saying one thing about it, the next they switch it up, and it's always to reinforce the lies that they have against the men that are teaching the truth, man. Okay, and it's all for filthy lucre, as the scripture says, for status, for the carnal status that they have here in Babylon, man. All right, this is the first book of Maccabees, chapter 1, verse 11. It says, in those days went there out of Israel wicked men, right, who persuaded many, saying, let us go and make a covenant with the heathens that are round about us. The heathens that are round about us, the unbelievers that are round about us right now is Esau, man. You have all these other nations too, and you got Elam, you know. You have obviously Amalek and their minions, you know, which is a part of the house of Esau. But you also have Ham out here. You have Moab, you know, Japheth. You have all these nations out here in this big, you know, cesspool of a melting pot. You know, in this melting pot here that we call Babylon, right? Especially these big cities like in the East Coast and in the West Coast, California, in the West, you know, New York, New England, you know, the South and the East Coast, you know, where a lot of different nations or a lot of different people from different nations live together, man. And we're right in the middle of all that, man. You know, right in the midst of all that. And these are truly the unbelievers, these heathens that the scripture is speaking about, right? But the ones that are making these covenants with these heathens, starting with Esau, man, right, are our own people. Our own people that know that they're Israelites, that know, you know, the fear of the Lord, but don't fear the Lord. You know what I mean? It's one thing to know it. It's another thing to act according to it, right? And it seems like these men do not have fear of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua, man. You know, we all fall short. We all go off. Sometimes willingly, sometimes unwillingly. But, you know, that's why prayer is there for, right? And hope, you know, that the Lord has mercy on us. So I say that to say that none of us are perfect, but to be this forward, man, and actually make contracts with these people and teach your congregation to do so too, you know, like in the likes of IUIC telling you to marry and you got to have some type of paperwork with Esau. Like, for what? If marriage is sex according to the scriptures, you know, we don't need to have no type of contract with these people. It's bad enough that these people are the ones teaching our children in these demonic schools, you know, indoctrinating them in those schools, whether it be, you know, middle school, high school, or even college, man. Yeah, we have a lot of our young adult men participating, for lack of another word, you know, attending the water Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua. These schools that they attend, you know, and they get indoctrinated with these worldly teachings, man. You know, and these are the people, you know, that are over us, that the world is, the earth is given to, you know, into their hands, the wicked, you know. But it goes on to say, right, it says, who persuaded many, saying, let us go and make a covenant with the heathens that are round about us, for since we departed from them, we have had much sorrows. And truly indeed, you know, we have come out of her, you know, through the spirit of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua. We have come out of her. So the spirit that's on us, man, is a renewed spirit, right? We're born again, and we don't follow the ways that we were being brought up and so used to. You know what I'm saying? And now that we teach different, you know, you get nothing but criticism and persecution from our own people, and the reason being, right, which is the whole reason of this point of this lesson is, you know, they hate us for that, man. They hate us. They hate our sacrifice stinks to them, right? It's a sweet smell for the Lord, but it stinks to the men and women that are joined to Esau and his ways, man. This is the book of Matthew 5:11. It says, blessed are ye when men shall revile you, right? To criticize you, you know, speaking evil, right? and persecute you, and shall say all manners of evil against you falsely, calling our apostles rapists, right? And that everyone else on down teaches about grape, you know, when that's not so. I mean, none of them could produce paperwork, and Nathaniel from IUIC knows that all too well, because I don't know if he's still a cop, but I would imagine he isn't, you know, with all the money that he's getting from donations. But that's neither here nor there. That's not my business. Talakia, but he should know better, because you have to produce paperwork, man. Where's the evidence, man, that anyone from Great Millstone or any other camp that's affiliated, and by that I mean that teach the same doctrine, man, right? Because we're one body no matter what, right? If we all speak and say the same things, you know, where's the paperwork? Where's the evidence for that, man? And it's evil, man, to say that about people, man, because it's a word that once you put that word, you take a, you know, that's why they say a picture's worth a thousand words, I think is what it says. You put a word under the picture of a man, yo, such as the ones that, like, you know, Grapus or PDF file, and man, you know, it changes your whole perspective on that man, you know, even if you know the man. You know, you would have to know, you would have to be in the know to realize, you know, they just talking about this brother, they criticizing this brother, they falsely accusing this brother. You know what I mean? And you stick by your brother, you support your brother. You know what I mean? But that's only if you know what's going on. If you don't, you know, you automatically think that this man is that evil, man. But it's telling you here, man, bless are ye, you know, the men of the Lord are blessed, man, and it's yet another way of knowing and realizing who's who in this walk of ours, man. Who is who in this walk of ours, man? Because none of these other men that are doing the criticizing against the men of the Lord are being falsely accused or criticized from other men, especially from the men of the Lord, right? Starting with the apostles on down, like Great Millstone. They rebuke them, and we also rebuke when we see men going off, you know. But that could be anybody, even men in our own camps. Whenever we're going off, whenever, you know, we're not doing what we got to do, the spirit of Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushua is going to be on men to rebuke that person that is lacking, that person that's going off, man. You know, this thing is about correction, man. If you can't take correction, you know, as the scripture says, he who's often rebuked, you know, and hardened his neck shall be destroyed. I think it says with great sorrows, you know. Like, you don't want to get caught out here, man, you know, messed up. Salaki, let me do one thing real quick. You don't want to get caught out here, man, you know, lacking. As I said, you know, we all come short, man, but, you know, we got to do our best, man. But, you know, the men of the Lord, the hopeful elect is going to do just that. It's going to consider those things, and it's going to walk accordingly. Whereas two-third minded, or the children of the light, right, the counterparts, or not the counterparts, the opposite of the children of the light, will be doing the complete opposite, man. You know, not taking rebuke, also participating in the criticism, you know, in the reviling and false accusing, evils being evil spoken of. You know what I'm saying? They're gonna participate in that satanic man, I'm lost for words right now. And that's those satanic ways, man. Those adverse ways, man, right? This is the book of 2 Timothy 4:3. It says, for the time will come when they will not endure sound doctrine, because they're not going to want to listen to the men of the Lord, because to them the men of the Lord are rapists and PDF files, you know what I'm saying, and and anything else, man, and you know, whoremongers and stuff, you know, because these men even go off and say that well, they say it in a way as if it's a bad thing to deal with a harlot, you know, what we would call a prostitute or hooker or whatever, you know. 'Cause prostitute just simply means to I roughly paraphrasing, I think it means to stand before, right? And that's what all these women do. And then guess what? When a woman goes off, leaves you, or you leave that woman, and she goes and lays with another man, she becomes defiled, man. She becomes a harlot, you know. A lot of our own mothers technically are harlots, man. You know, we love them, but by biblical definition, they are. So here it is, you're born out of a harlot, but you're talking about men can't go deal with harlots when man, 99.9% of all these women here in Babylon are harlots, man. 0.01% might be virgins, man. And that's a very small amount of women. You'll be very, very lucky, man. You know, fortunate, I should say, if you find a woman that is a virgin, you know, especially, you know, of age, you know, 18, 19, by the standards of Esau, man. You know, when Esau, you know, breaks his own rules, so fuck Esau and his rules, you know. But the point is, man, you know, here it is, you got these men teaching, you know, saying these things about the men of the Lord, man, you know, and you know, it's just not so. So to stick to the point, 2 Timothy 4:3, for the time will come when they will not endure sound doctrine, but after their own lust shall they heap to themselves teachers having itchy ears. Because our people, what they want to hear is sweet things, you know, lies, prophesying, you know, lying prophecies, basically, that the MO to the TB is not the RFID when it so obviously is. And they know in their hearts and their minds that it is. It has to be, because it just makes so much sense, you know. It's easy. It's more easily explained. You can see that it is, man. It's not the image of a Caesar Borgia speaking. It's not, you know, dealing with Edomite women. You know, it's not an embargo. It's not none of these things that these men are talking, that a lot of these men are talking about, man. It's like they all have, like I told the elder yesterday and the brothers, you know, they all have, obviously took the bag or some type of agreement, covenant with Esau. And here it is, they get emails or memos, man, to criticize the men of the Lord and blame the men of the Lord for what guerrillas doing, you know, guerrilla Hebrews doing, or for why the Raptor News dude died or whatever, blaming the men of the Lord for that shit. You know, they can't take no type of accountability. It's like lying all the time on the men of the Lord, man. And one thing that we push the most, starting with the apostles on down, is the names, man. Yahweh, why Yahweh Shai. And they don't want to hear none of these things, man. You know, they don't want to hear none of these things because their leaders have taught them that doesn't really matter. So, you know, just like in the past, they want to be told lies, man, and sweet things that are going to be bitter in the near future, man. For you trying to switch up and trying to just you know, trying to feel safe and comfortable, you know, with the lies, man. It's going to be to your own demise, man. You know, and this is the difference between the men of the Lord, and which are the children of the light, and the children of the night, man, which are, you know, of the world. Is the fact that the truth is going to come out of one and lies are going to come out of another, man. Okay? Let me see. I'll end it off with this last one. Actually, two more. It says Matthew 8:28. It says, and when he was come to the other side into the country of Gergesenes, so like if I mispronounced that, there met him two possessed with devils coming out of the tombs, exceeding fierce, so that no man might pass by the way. You know, two men that were just had demons on them, you know. And it says, and behold, they cried out, saying, what have we to do with thee, Yahushai, the son of power, Yahweh? Art thou come hither to torment us before the time? Now, mind you, these are two men, right, with demons on them. And yes, you know, they ran into Yahushai, man. You know, they ran into Yahushai, and you know, Yahushai speaking to the men of the Lord. It's no wonder why when we rebuke these men, or these men run into us, and I'm speaking on other like, you know, Israelites that know that they're Israelites and teach that they're Israelites, but you know, are double-minded, don't teach the MOTBs, the RFID, don't teach the truth fully, right? Because no lies of the truth. This is how they feel, man. Like, we don't got nothing to do with y'all. And we feel just like that too, because what does they have to do with night, right? Or the lie with the truth? Nothing, man. You know, it's two complete opposites. This is why there's so much criticism. This is why there's so much persecution. And don't get it twisted, man. These are the men that are going to be sent to set the brothers up. You already see what's going on with IUIC and the Nation of Islam, you know, which is complete, you know, madness, man. And against the scriptures, man. Totally against the scriptures. But I bring out that scripture, man, to just show you, man, that these people have demons on them, and they don't want the men of the Lord teaching against what they teach. Okay? They don't want us rebuking them. They don't want nothing to do with this truth, but everything to do with the world. Okay, just got to pick this person up now. I'll bring this last scripture out. This is the book of 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, and I'll start at verse 5. And it says, ye are all children of the light and the children of the day. We are not of the night nor of darkness. Okay, therefore let us not sleep as others do, as do others, but let us watch and be sober. Right? We gotta watch and be sober by not considering none of these false doctrines. You know, not wavering, not feeling all shaky when shit start hitting the fan and Esau starts making moves, because we're set up by our own people, man, who really isn't our people at the moment, man. You know, I mean, they are Israelites just like we are, you know, but they ain't our brothers or our sisters right now, man. Not in this side, at least. And their actions prove that, right? It says, verse 7, for they that sleep in the night and they that be drunken are drunken in the night, right? Off of these philosophies, man. In total darkness off of these philosophies that Esau is telling them to pass down to their own to their congregation, man. You know, it says, verse 8, and I'll end it off with this, but let us who are of the day be sober, putting on the breastplate of faith and love, and for an helmet that the hope of salvation. Right? We have faith and hope in Yahweh Bahashim Yahushai, man, and that Yahushai is going to redeem us, no matter what's going on, no matter how much criticism, no matter how much no matter how these men try to set us up. In no way, shape, or form, man, are we going to be moved, man. For as long as Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushai has us, we can't be moved, man. You know, I pray that this lesson made sense, because, you know, we had to consider the fact that these men are out here, man, doing their daddy, the devil's work, man. You know what I'm saying? In closing, I want to give all honors and praises to Yahweh Bahashim Yahushai, Bahashim Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles of GMS who teach and rule well. Salutations to you brothers in the highways and byways and hedges. Salutations also goes out to you brothers and few sisters tuning in, listening, and learning. Right, the hopeful elect. To you all I say shalom.